teach them unorthodox fashion, and it's very controversial. The collection agencies, I tell people never ever, and you'll hear me on 102.5 and 1250, I just wanted today, never ever ever pay a collection account. Now I know you've been conditioned by the industry to pay collection accounts. I tell people never ever pay a collection account, but also never ever ignore the collectors. What is a collection account, first of all? Let me make sure that you're clear on that. Anytime you go out to open an account with the original creditor, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Home Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whatever, these are what you call your original creditors. You do officially have a contract with them, but if you study the Uniform Commercial Code, negotiable instruments section in specific, that account is null and void as well. But most of us aren't sophisticated enough to approach it from that perspective. So we'll play this lower level game with them in the meantime. But what I tell people to do, don't pay the collector, but don't ignore them. The original creditor whom you originally opened the account up with, if you default, usually about 90 to 180 days of non-payment or inactivity on your behalf, they'll charge the account off. Now, can anybody here tell me what a charge-off means, other than people that are in my program? Anybody here know what a charge-off is? Just take a wing at it. Who had the hand first?
They've concluded that they don't expect to get paid, so they wrote the bill off for their books purposes, but you still are obligated to that debt.
Now, let me challenge you on that. When they write it off, it releases all parties of any financial obligation to the debt. Let's make sure we're clear on that. When they charge it off, all parties are released from obligation to that debt. Okay? Now, let me explain this. Okay? Let me explain it. Because that's the traditional view that we have around the country, is that you still are obligated to the debt. Because if you read the verbiage in the documentation, it's going to glaze over it and it's going to generalize it, and you're not going to really understand it at all. But so you're going to get the impression that you still owe the debt. But think about it now. If the original creditor is unable to collect on the debt, if the original creditor is unable to collect on the debt after 90 to 180 days, they're going to write it off because they can't collect on the debt. It's of no more value to them, and they're going to become responsible for that at the end of the fiscal year. They'll become responsible for that debt if they don't charge it off. So it's imperative that they charge the debt off. When they charge it off, that means they release you of any obligation to the debt as well. But you don't know that, and they don't want you to know that. But the way that we get around that is say, okay, when the collectors call you, because they're going to buy the debt for pennies on the dollar, these two books go into it extensively, okay? They buy the debts for pennies on the dollar. The collector does. ABC Collection, whatever. Some old strange name that you never heard of that appears on your credit report. That's what you call a collection. They'll have it in the original creditor status line, they'll have the original creditor in there, but then they say, we now the new collector, and we're here representing the original creditor. They're not representing no original creditor. They're just telling you that because of the contract agreement that they have with this original creditor because they're operating illegally. It's a game. Remember, the Federal Reserve banking system is a violation of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8 and 10 of the Constitution. Nevertheless, we participate in the procedure of the Federal Reserve banking system on a daily basis, and some of us will swear that it's constitutional. It is not constitutional. Okay, they were forced on this government in 1913, and it came to fruition in 1933 when we went bankrupt under House Joint Resolution 192. Believe me, folks, just read this information, okay? It's not the traditional nonsense that we're accustomed to and we're regurgitating on a daily basis. Don't fall for it. I mean, I think this gentleman first, Greg.
You were going so smoothly, I don't see any pins moving. So while we're standing here so infatuated with this guy's, I was about to say something, guy's commentary, please, people, listen to what he's saying. Get out your pens. Right now, House Joint Resolution 192.
Yeah, and look at
and also Article 3 of the UCC, which is the negotiable instrument section. He and I used to go back and forth, but when I started reading and realizing that he's correct, the one thing that I don't have is fear. So I walk in and say pretty choice words to these people. But it's only because I'm back with the information. Please listen to the idiot. He's actually
educated idiot.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Okay, I'm glad to hear what you just said about don't pay.
Wait, I'm not finished with that.
Wait.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking this question, because there's a statute of limitations.
Oh, I thought somebody said something. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I'm glad you said that because there is a statute of limitations in the state of Florida because they do have 5 years from the point that they charge that debt off.
Right.
to collect. So that's why I'm having some
Yeah, let me
confusion.
clarify that for you.
Said.
Okay, statute of limitations, toss them, okay, folks? Just toss them out the door. Statute of limitations only apply when both parties are in compliance. That's what statute of limitations is, okay? It's just like contracts. Any contract can be reviewed if either party establishes that fraud exists. Statute of limitations is just to get us to believe that we owe the debt. That gives the collector the time to collect on the debt. They surpass that every chance they get. They'll try to collect on the debt for 30, 40 years, and I don't care what state it is. They were trying to collect on it. Now, listen to what I'm saying. Anytime a collector calls you and you see in the original creditor line of your credit report that it's somebody else that you open the account with and it's a third-party collector trying to collect on it, then you don't pay it, but you don't ignore them either. Do not ignore the collector because that's what you call a presentment. If the collector, anybody, can walk up to you, I can walk up to this young lady right here and say, you owe me $500. I see you a document saying, you owe me $500. I'm going to give you 30 days. If you don't dispute in 30 days, what have you done? What has she done? She's acquiesced. She's agreed with my presentment. She said, yes, I do owe the debt, but I don't have the funds to pay it. What I tell people to do is that's what the collector is going to do. They're going to come after you in a legitimate posture and say, I'm representing Bank of America, who you charge the debt off with. I'm here to collect on that debt. Now, you automatically know you owe Bank of America, but you don't know who this collector is. So what you're supposed to do with the collector on the monetary procedures and laws is say, okay, you need to identify yourself because I don't know who you are. I did not open a contract with you. I opened it with the original creditor. Now, you are trying to collect, and let me issue what I call a validation of debt. On the middle of my card, I have it in an acronym form here, VOD. That stands for validation of debt. I put it there specifically in the form of an acronym so people can ask me, what is VOD? It's a validation of debt. That's going to put the collector on notice now. You need to operate within the realms of the law. You're not dealing with the average idiot any longer out here, okay? Because the average idiot will pay you because the average idiot believes what the system is about. But I'm here to tell you that anytime a collector contacts you for a debt, you automatically refuse. In court, what do? You object. Even if you're unclear, you object automatically. And then let them provide clarity. So what I'm telling the collector to do is, okay, stop right there. You're not the original creditor. You didn't loan me no money. I didn't enter into no contract with you. So I'm not saying I'm not going to pay you. But before I pay you, I need you to show me proof that I borrowed the money from you and that you have the original documentation I signed with you to say that this debt belongs to me, this debt is between me and you, and I'll pay it. The debt is no longer, once the original creditor charges the debt off, all that information is shredded. The original contract is gone. That's why they shredded it. The collector is just deceptively coming after you, and it's a lucrative industry. They're buying these debts for as much as 3 cents on the dollar. They will not go over 3 cents on the dollar. 3 cents on the dollar max that they're paying for this debt that you owe the original creditor. They're coming after you and getting you to pay full face value plus penalties and fees. So you're paying sometimes the collector, you pay them more than you pay the original creditor when you didn't owe the collector 1 red cent. Don't fall for that scam. So when the collector calls you, you want to say this. When they say, we're here to collect on a debt, you say, great. Send it to me in writing and I'll be more than happy to settle this matter, and hang up the phone. That's it. Don't give no social security number, no address, the correct spelling of your name, your mother's maiden name, none of it. If they're a legitimate collector, they should already have that information. So what you're telling them to do is send it to me in writing, and I'll be more than happy to settle this matter. Most of the time, they won't send it to you in writing because they know they're operating illegally. But if they do send it to you in writing, say hallelujah. Because that means now you can issue a validation of debt based on their documentation that they've sent to you. Okay? But you need that letter from them to say, because you want to say, I want you to identify yourself. Once you identify yourself, then I'll work with you. But if you don't identify yourself, you're null and void to me. I don't have no business with you until you identify yourself. That's the way the game works, folks. Believe me, I've been doing this for 20 years. And this is what differentiates me from the traditional credit repair companies out there, because none of them delve into this side of the law, okay, or this side of the monetary law. All they do is dispute the negative information on the credit report. So when we dispute I can take off collection all day long off your credit report, but you're still going to owe the collector if they call you. So what good is that if I'm removing the negative information and not going after the collector? So we call it credit restoration assistance because we're going after the credit reporting agency, telling them, stop and remove this information from the credit report. Oh, and Mr. Collector, I'm using the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act and aspects of the Uniform Commercial Code to get you to cease and desist on collecting this debt. Now I've covered the whole realm of credit. Because 9 times out of 10, most people that have bad credit have collection accounts, and the lender's going to tell you to pay these debts. Never, ever pay a collector. And I'm being adamant about that. Never ever pay a collector, but never ever ignore them. That's what this gentleman was saying. So if you ignore them, then you do obligate yourself to the debt. Greg, you want something?
Gentlemen, please do not set up any agreements with agents.
You make it difficult for me. Yeah, but now if let's say you come into my program and you started a payment arrangement with the collector. Let me know the time. If you started a payment arrangement.
I'm just running out of film, so.
Okay, let me talk about it. I want to get on film. I like film. But okay, so if you already entered into a payment arrangement with the collector, you enter my program, I'm still going to remove it off the credit report. And remember that I can remove anything, bankruptcy, tax lien, judgments, whatever, because the violation of due process according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We know it belongs to you. But the collector, you've already entered into an arrangement with the collector. I removed it off the credit report, then I'm going to give them a validation debt, even in midstream of you having payment arrangements. It'll make it more difficult for me because you've already validated the debt. Like Greg said, if you give them one dime, you validate the debt because you said, yeah, I do owe the debt, so here's the money to validate.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
This is very important because once you pay a nickel or even agree to pay the nickel,
Yeah.
you have re-aged that account.
Now that's true. Now,
That's a very important point.
Let me say that on that. Okay, when you pay 1 cent on the account, you validated the account. And what you talking about re-aging, when you open up a new dialogue with the collector, that's how they keep that stuff on in 30, 40 years. You change the statute of limitations for an additional 7 years for it to stay on your credit report. That's all they're hoping you do. So what I tell people, the way to circumvent that is to get on the line with them, tell them, let's nip this in the bud right now. Send it to me in writing, and I'll be more than happy to settle this matter. Oh, you mean pay, Mr. Crowley? Let me say it one more time, okay? Send it to me in writing, and I'll be more than happy to settle this matter. That's all you say. Don't say nothing else and just hang the phone up. Send it to me in writing, I'll be more than happy to settle this matter. And then when you get it, they're going to think, oh, well, he's going to settle the matter, he's going to pay the debt. But they got something new coming. They got a validation of debt coming, so now they got to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that you owe the debt. Okay? Now, if you've already opened up the account and you're in the midstream of paying, then I'm going to interrupt that flow and say, okay, listen, I'm going to renegotiate the contract. Yes, I did agree to pay, but let me renegotiate it because now, I have established that fraud exists in this contract. I listened to this crazy educated idiot named William Crowley. He told me I don't have to pay no collector. So what you want to do is say, I want you to send it to me right again, the contract, or if you already have it, then I'm going to attach a validation debt and send that back to the collector and say, okay, I know that they opened up payment arrangement with you, but we're going to reevaluate this contract, this agreement. Now I want to see the original contract before I make any more payments. Now, if you go to court, all you have to do is present the validation of debt, and the judge can't do anything but rule in your favor. But you know, the courts are lopsided still. You can go in there and have all your information. Sometimes they rule against you as well. But you have to be persistent, okay? So, but the documentation says, listen, Your Honor, I'm not ignoring this contract and I'm not refusing to pay it. But I'm doing it on legal format now. Here's the validation of debt, Your Honor. I submitted this to them because I want to redress the contract. I have the right to do that. I'm not saying I'm not going to pay, but I want this collector to show me beyond a shadow of a doubt that I owe this debt. They can't show you, because all they have is a spreadsheet in front of them that they bought the accounts from. They don't have the original documents because the original documents were shredded at the time that the original creditor charged it off.
There was one thing you said,
Good.
and you said some great things. But when you said when the collector calls you, you know, don't give them this, don't give them that,
Right.
and hang up the phone.
Well, no, I said, you know,
But
settle.
you still have to validate or ask for that validation in writing.
No.
You don't have to do it in writing?
Everything, that's a good question, though, good question. When you're dealing with crooks, you don't have no verbal or oral communication, okay? Because they can easily twist it, because you can't record them. Unless you ask to record them, then you can do that. Once you say record to a collector, you're going to hit dial tone. Because they know when their lips start moving, they're lying. Okay, they're not going to tell you the truth. So that's why you want to correspond with these people through written correspondence, okay? That's where you can create a paper trail. Make sure that, listen, oh, you said that? Okay, let me see, where'd you say that? I don't see it on here, it's not written. And you didn't give me permission to record you, so that's going to be just an exchange between me and you in front of a court of law. You don't want that. That's why everything, even with the credit reporting agency, everything with us is written. And we give it to you all so you can see that what we're doing, okay? We're not some Mickey Mouse credit report. I've been around 20 years doing this almost, with the same phone number, mind you, okay? And that's important, because you get a lot of business out there change phone numbers every year. I can say, what's going on? Greg knows why I say that. But nevertheless, I've had the same phone number since I started this business, okay, folks? I've had repeat business for the last 20 years. I know what I'm talking about when I'm dealing with these collectors. So when you say to them, send it to me in writing, and I'll be more than happy to settle this matter, click. That's what you say. Because you have a dialogue with them, but you have a dialogue based on from you, where you're in control now. You're in control. And there's nothing wrong with you taking control, because when you're in control of things, there's more clarity. Okay? There's much more clarity in there. Okay? And in your Bible, it says in Ephesians 6 and 12, many of you read your Bible, any of the holy books, the Quran, whatever, in Ephesians 6 and 12, we got to be, I'm paraphrasing, we got to be weary of these people working principles of darkness or whatever. Because the flesh and the blood, that's where the power really lies, in us. But if we don't enforce these laws, there's nothing going to happen. Stop paying these collectors, okay, and making my life hard. It's making my life rough, okay, folks? All right, now I don't know how much time you got.
All right, thank you.